Okay, we're live. Everybody, sit up. The internet's watching. Great. So we're at part 2. I'm going to go ahead and switch to share my screen to show where all of our conflicts are and our themes, and we'll do a quick review if I can remember how to share my screen. I seriously don't remember how to share my screen.
You go to the left side.
I'm going to say Google Hangouts changed things on me. That's my excuse. Oh, screen share. Okay.
There you go.
Application window. All right, I'll present everybody. Okay, so here we are. We have our themes of the novel. As a reminder, are checked here. Basically, we're looking at the American dream, and we're seeing a lot of that. What with taking a bunch of house money to start a new endeavor, projects out in the desert, that kind of thing. Fall from grace is a big one. I think that will play out. We also have setting conflicts right now. There's corruption in the force. We have definitely seen that with Sheriff Keller's campaign, and those Palominos land deal is a conflict. Now, we still have a character conflict in play that Betty does not trust Wally. Now, character conflicts, by the way, can only be resolved by the people affected by the character conflict. So Dean can't jump in and resolve this conflict unless there's a particular move he has that allows him to. And we have our setting in Southern California. All right, so that's where we are. And I will stop sharing. And I'm back. Okay, cool. All right, so when we last left our heroes, Wally and Betty were at this motel along the route out to Palmdale. They had just stopped by Los Palominos project. They talked to the foreman there, who had basically said the project had been pulled. Foreman did not know that his boss, Lester Camp, had been murdered. He was in Palmdale. And so they were at the motel. Dean and Jack left the bar and decided to drive into the desert, which I guess you can do in the 40s. And they were told by Betty where to find her. So we're going to go ahead and open with the hotel. Probably the next morning. I think that everybody's probably got whatever sleep they could get, and they are now convening in the parking lot. I imagine that there's still some packing to do. We have 2 cars we're dealing with, Studebaker and I don't know what Dean's car is. This is Dad's car. Probably a Chrysler.
Well, I had asked if we could use the lights and sirens on Jack's police car. I don't know if we did that or not.
Oh, that's right. You were using the police car. You were not using your dad's car.
Oh, okay. So we're in my squad car.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That won't cause any problems.
So everybody's convening in the parking lot of the motel, and it's morning. And I think some of you were planning to go to Palmdale, but I won't speak for you. I'll just kind of open the floor, let you guys discuss it and hash it out. As a reminder, we're in the meeting. The purpose of this chapter is to quite simply get all of your shit together so that you can go and deal with the ordeal. We know that we moved into the next chapter when somebody crosses the threshold. And what that means in the context of the story is that when we're going to march now to Mordor. Game over. It's time to get serious about this. That's crossing to the threshold, and we'll know when that happens. I think it might happen pretty quickly, given the setup right now.
So, do you think Dean and Jack got there last night and stayed the night, or did they arrive that morning? So it's kind of a question for
yeah, I'll let you guys decide that. I mean, it would only take you a couple hours to get there.
I think we got in pretty late at night. So probably, I don't know if we rented a room or just crashed out in the squad car and, meeting up in the morning.
because Wally slept in the car because Betty threw him out. So, okay.
So we could start in the night too, because you would be woken up by the squad car lights as it approaches, and your neck is like, oh, ah.
Yeah, I think early morning is fine. So Wally sits up, bumps his head on the roof of his car to see the squad car pull up. The lights are not on, and he kind of figures that out. It's probably Jack. But he does reach for his gun briefly while he figures out what's going on. So he'll wave at Jack.
Hey, I forgot what voice I was doing for this guy, so it's this now.
It was slight Chicago, but not entirely.
Oh, okay. I don't think I'm gonna be able to fall into that easy. I'd have to go. I should have listened. All right. So, yeah, Jack sort of falls out of his car and hitches his pants and heads over to Wally's car, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing sleeping in your car?"
There's only one bed, and the princess decided to take it. So I thought we were going to call you and come out. How'd you know to come out here?
Betty called.
Oh, of course she did. Okay. Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, she seemed pretty shook up, I think. So.
All right. Well, I'll go get us some donuts. You can wake up Her Majesty. Who you got with you?
Oh, Dean, come on.
Hey, yeah, who's this guy?
Oh, you haven't met Wally Walker.
Oh my God, Wally, I've sent you letters. Did you get the letters?
We got the letters. You must be the Dean.
What does that mean?
You're mixed up in some stuff, young man.
Well, I'm one of the principal investors in the Los Palominos project. Yeah, is that what you meant?
Yeah. Jack Lestercamp is dead.
Oh, that's
Which
gonna
you
put
may
him
already
in command
know.
some things.
Yeah.
Wait, the project manager? We need that guy.
Yeah. Might as well wake up Betty and let's get the gang together and hash this out. Room 208.
Thanks. I'll go get Betty.
Great.
Come on, Dean. Let's go get some coffee in you.
Yeah, that's that guy accused me of felony murder.
Oh yes, I totally believe that.
Does this happen all the time? You don't seem shocked at all.
It's a good week if it's just once.
I'm gonna need more than coffee in that coffee.
A very dedicated officer is our Jack.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. All right, do we want to pass it over to Betty and?
Yeah.
You guys gonna wake Betty up, or is Betty up already?
So I open the door and I'm standing there and I'm fully dressed. My hair is perfection. And I have a cup of coffee in the newspaper and I'm sipping it. And I've, look like I've had the best night's sleep. Totally didn't, the rest of you are exhausted and sore. And I'm like, it's great. Oh, Jack, you're here.
Is that Warner Brothers cartoon music playing and the sunrise?
Yeah. Hey, Betty. Look, we got. I picked up Dean on the way out, and Wally said you kicked him out of the room or something. You were pretty upset when you called. You look fine though.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to have some strange man staying in my room. That was not appropriate. Did you say that you brought Dean with you? Dean Wright?
Yeah. Dean's got a stake in this whole thing, so we're gonna hash this out. Why don't you come on down? I think Wally's already getting us some breakfast.
Okay, well, let me just grab my things. I go back in, I grab, my purse, kind of collect all my beauty products back into my bag and sling my purse over my shoulder and follow you out.
So there's probably a donut shop along the route where you could all go convene.
Just a quick question: is this pre-war or post-war?
Post-war, 47.
Okay. So there will be all kinds of these, like, roadside diners and that kind of thing.
Yeah, again, there's Rusty's Donuts, which is probably where you already got your coffee, Betty. But there are also diners. It's wherever you want to go. There's lots of places along the way. I mean, relatively, about 3-4 miles each way.
I definitely didn't get my coffee myself, though. I called the front desk and flirted with the guy at the counter to go get me coffee and bring it back.
All right, lady. Here's your damn coffee.
All right. So Dean and Wally return with their coffee, and I guess we'll all go like a quarter mile down to the diner and hash it out.
So as soon as you go into the diner, Gene, you see McCluskey. He's eating some eggs. He's doing what McCluskey always does, which keeps his hat on indoors. So that's because he's always trying to hide his bald spot. And he's got his trimmed mustache, and he's got a pen, and he's just writing on the newspaper. It's your newspaper he's writing on. He's not reading the Times. Taking notes, drawing circles and arrows. Doesn't notice you as you come in, but you definitely notice him.
I think actually that he's the Times and I might be the Herald. So
yeah.
Okay. So I'm assuming he hasn't noticed me yet.
No, he's reading the Herald and making notes.
Well, I look over at Jack and said, the enemy has arrived. We could do this a couple of ways. I could confront him, or maybe we could throw him off the scent.
Okay. What do you mean the enemy?
There's only one enemy, and that's McCluskey. All things terrible in the world go through him, or begin with him.
All right. Listen, we're not gonna get into a confrontation with the rival reporter over it.
Yeah, you know what? You can arrest him.
What's he done? What'd he do?
He's wearing a hideous hat indoors, number one, which is a crime against all of us, frankly. And two, I mean, come on, he's here chasing the ambulance and probably will fall down the wrong lead, and this is not going to go well if we just let him loose in the desert.
Look, if he didn't do anything wrong, I can't do anything to him. You want to throw him off the scent? Sure.
Yeah, Jack, we need to keep control of this situation. We can't just have anyone wandering around collecting information. You never know what will happen. Like you said, if Betty gets in the system, we won't know what to do then.
Well, the problem is if I talk to him, then he...
Whoa. What do you mean Betty gets in the system?
Look, when we were riding up here, he was like, oh, I need to protect Betty. Her name can't be involved in all of this. I think he was making moon eyes the whole time, But, after you said that lawyer to me.
Really, Jack, you've gone a little soft.
All right. Everybody just back it down. We had a few drinks last night. Some things may have been said in the car. It's morning. We're going to look at this objectively, okay?
Yeah, and that's why we got to throw this guy McCluskey off the scent. We need him out of here. We need him chasing some other direction.
Well, it can't be me, because if he sees me here, he'll know he's on the right track. So Betty, if you're not too busy with Jack right now, then maybe you can talk to him.
And what am I supposed to tell him that an heiress to a fortune is hanging out with a cop, her financial partner, and I don't know what are you again? You write stories about people and make up lies and destroy their lives by the twists and turns you make about the reality of the real situation.
Yep, that's exactly right. You got it totally right. I destroy lives.
You do.
As long as he doesn't know we're going to Palmdale, we'll have a lead on him. Can you do that? Jack, can you ask her to do that?
I mean, he's got a point, Betty. Maybe we send him back the other way.
Or Jack, if that doesn't work, you said my money is in Keller's account. You point him at that, he's gonna go chasing it down like a dog with a bone.
All right.
Oh, I've got an idea. Just hold on a minute. I pull out my compact, and I fix my lipstick, and I kind of zhuzh my hair, and I walk over to his table and kind of drum my fingers on the edge of his table until he looks up at me.
He looks up and says, oh my goodness, Miss Sinclair, what are you doing all the way out here in the desert?
Well, I was just taking a little vacation.
I barely recognized you.
Well, thank you. I had a wonderful night's sleep.
A night's sleep? Who were you with?
Oh, just myself, of course.
Eris out by herself? Where are you heading?
Actually, I was thinking about heading into Las Vegas.
Oh, Las Vegas. What's going on in Las Vegas?
Well, my friend, I mean, I shouldn't drop names or anything, but the Bovaints, right? The casino owners. Their daughter is getting married this weekend, and I hear that she's in a family way.
Well, okay, so what's your motivation here?
To get him to go to Vegas.
Okay, but why did you bring up them?
Oh, because obviously they had some dealings with Daddy that fell through, and so it's time to kind of put them in the hot seat and get the attention off of the Sinclairs family for a while.
Are you condemning them?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, are you falling?
I am currently rising.
Okay, well, you'll get a plot point if you want to condemn your family rivalry.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I will definitely do that.
All right, so that is a morality roll.
Okay.
And you are now falling.
Morale.
And even if you succeed at this point, since you got a plot point for this, I have narrative control, so we'll get to...
I got a 6.
Okay. Okay. It's like, this is all very, very interesting. I just have to ask you, Betty Sinclair, why are you lying to the Los Angeles Times?
Why would I lie?
Well, you are definitely what's the word? Feeding me a story, and this story is highly improbable. I am very curious, first of all, as to why you are here and why you would sit down and immediately spoon feed a story.
All right, fine. I'll tell you the truth. I am blanking.
It's okay, Betty. I understand why you are upset. I understand why you are upset. I gather you must have heard the news.
The news?
Well, the reason I'm here, the reason you are here.
I don't believe I know what you're talking about.
Okay. You're playing coy.
I'll like slide into the booth in front of him. Sit down.
He takes his hat off and, balding, kind of, he has a mousy face, and he leans in and is like covering his mouth from the rest of the restaurant. Your father. Your father. You mean you don't know?
The loss of my father has been very difficult on me and the family.
Since yesterday?
What are you talking about?
Your father was shot yesterday. I'm following the lead.
My father? My father's been dead for weeks.
Oh, I might be speaking out of turn. Excuse me.
No. Where did you get this information?
All right, now what do you? You're trying to get him to stop and tell you more.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do this simply by navigate others, or if you want to enforce your will, it depends on how you want to do that.
Let's go with navigate others.
Okay.
10.
All right. Well, you have narrative control, so you get to decide how this pans out. You're the novelist.
Look, my father committed suicide a month ago. I'm sorry, died in a tragic accident a month ago. And whatever lies you're spreading about him still being alive is just cruel. Yes, there are 2 people dead, but neither one of them is my father. And you're definitely following the wrong lead.
Betty, Lester Camp is your father. He faked his death. The Los Angeles County was about to raid all of his money because of all of these bad deals he was doing. That's why the money's in probate.
I don't think you know what you're talking about, and you're definitely following the wrong lead. And if Lester Camp is my father, well, good riddance, he's dead either way. And I'll like get up, shove away from the table, and walk away.
Have it your way. He throws some quarters on there, and as he's walking out, he's like, "Oh, good to see you, Wally." And he leaves the diner.
Looks like that could have gone better.
Yeah, you should have just arrested him. I can still punch him.
Can I say that spending a plot point that I saw things were not going well with this conversation, and that I put a slow leak into his tires, so he's going to break down in the desert somewhere and not get where he's going?
Yeah, when you spend a plot point, you have narrative control, so you can do whatever you damn well please.
Yes, that's what's happening.
Okay.
All right, so what are we going to do now?
So did you guys hear all of that?
I saw it wasn't going well. What did he say?
He was blocking the conversation with his hat, so nobody really could see.
He was, well, I mean, I figured my my outburst, at least my side of the conversation,
that was
audible.
Yeah, that was audible.
He's spreading lies about my father having been alive this entire time, and Lester Camp being, that's right, that's the name, right? Yeah. Was actually my father in hiding. I don't know. I'm completely confused about what's going on now.
You know, McCluskey may be a parasite, but he's usually good about his sources. So, my condolences again.
Thanks. That seems really sincere.
Now we really got to find out who did this. Now it's personal.
Well, if if Lester was your dad, then that ties up why that 50 grand would have ended up in the campaign fund.
I don't understand how that ties up anything. What was my father doing alive? And why would he give the money to the sheriff? If father was, I don't know, trying to hide out, wouldn't he have just taken the money for himself?
I mean, don't you have a fortune? Why would he need the money?
That's what I'm saying. Why would he need to take your money, our money, when he's got his own money?
Maybe he doesn't want to have it traced back to the family name because, God forbid, it's tarnished in any way.
I just realized that if he is really truly dead and we can go identify the body, they'll release my money from probate.
Wait, your money's been in probate?
Yeah, that's why I haven't been able to help out with my side of the deal. But now I'll have money again and everything's going to be great.
You said it was just going to be a few days. You didn't know when it was coming at all? My parents could have lost their house.
Yeah, but it's all working out now. We just have to go identify the body and then I get my money and it's all great.
You know,
No, we have to.
look like a prime suspect, Betty. Look how happy you are. God damn.
Well, she did think her father was dead for a couple weeks, so. But yeah, I agree with Dean. This doesn't look right. You know, there's more to this, and we got to figure it out. If you want to go back to LA, that's fine. You can take my car, and I'll go with Jack and Dean. We'll get to the bottom of this. But if you want to run home and go back to your life of sipping Mai Tais by the pool, then that's okay. We'll take care of it.
No, we need her in Palmdale to figure out if this is really him. I hate to ask that of
Do
you.
we? Do we really?
This is absolutely neither of your decision, and I am coming with you because I have to get to the bottom of this for myself. Wally, you just said that it could look like this was my fault, and I can't have people thinking I had my hand in anything that happened with father and his death and the money and anything. I mean, what would that do to my reputation?
God forbid your reputation be at stake. Jack, talk some sense into her.
Betty, look, you don't sound like an innocent person. The way you're talking all about the money, you're gonna have to look. If anyone comes to question you, definitely don't be excited. I mean, damn it, kid, what are you doing?
My father died over a month ago. I've had my time to mourn for him. He was a bastard when he was alive, and I took my time to be sad about it. But now my life is finally going to be able to go back on track, and this is my chance. And I've got to go with you guys and make sure that that is actually daddy so that my life can go back the way it's supposed to be. Instead of staying in 2-bit motels and riding around with awful writers and talking to greasy cops. This is not the life I'm supposed to be living.
You calling me greasy?
You call me awful?
Did you even think about me?
All right, so there's a role that's going to happen here. I'm trying to figure out which one and what the adjudication is, because I think everybody agrees it's okay if you go along. I don't think that's what this is about. I think this is about, look, I didn't do it. You know, you
I'm
need
pretty
to be
sure
on
I
my
never
side.
actually said that.
So maybe this is more about earning their trust. What do you think?
Is this not crossing the threshold?
It is. It is. I'm just trying to figure out exactly which move she is doing to cross the threshold. I'm thinking you're falling now, right?
Yeah.
You can.
Will?
I'm thinking it might be enforce my will. Like, you guys are gonna take me.
and you're gonna trust me, right? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and do that. It's a personality roll. the conflict. You are challenging. I forgot. I
Addressing.
always forget to do that. This is an important part of the game, and
Yeah.
I think this is a.
The Los Palominos land deal, maybe?
No, I don't think this conflict exists.
Yeah.
Um,
I could spend a plot point to create one, right?
yeah, or I can give you a plot point to do one. I think I think I would. It's up to you. If I create the conflict, it's going to be more about. It's going to be more of a challenge for your character, or you can come up with your own conflict and pay a plot point. It's up to you. If you do that, that means you have narrative control, and you can introduce story elements or whatever.
Yeah.
If I do it, I have narrative control.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna let you complicate the story.
Okay. Okay, I'm adding a.
Complications are always way more fun.
I'm adding a conflict called Evidence Points to Betty. So, yeah, go ahead and roll. And you get a plot point.
Okay, so I did roll 4, 5, 7, 8. 8.
Okay. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Okay, so this is against other player characters. So if you are, well, we don't need to deal with that because it doesn't matter since 8 works both ways. So you all will get an arc if you trust that she didn't do it. You don't have to do that. So that's the outcome of this. But you did cross the threshold. So that means we are now in the next chapter. The next chapter is the test, where characters explore the situation, run into conflict, and make friends and enemies, and the character then will go into the cave. So this is essentially the rise to conflict. This is when we get to the nitty-gritty of the ordeal. And then going into the cave means, okay, now we're going to go into the volcano and deal with the dragon. No, you're actually going to confront the ordeal. So so given that framework, is take a moment or two to rework your motivation for this chapter. And all of the protagonists of Betty get a +1 arc. Betty gets a +1 arc, and all of the antagonists get a -1 arc.
So Dean and Jack are both protagonists, and Wally is an antagonist.
All right. So Wally, you're falling, I think. Unless you took that arc and believe her. Or the plot point. No, never mind. I confused myself.
No. I gave you the thumbs up, but you're busy, doing the thing you do. So yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
So,
cool.
I'm following you.
Right.
So I gained an arc, and I'm going with exonerate Betty as my motivation.
I'm going to go with get the guy who did this.
Guy? I mean, wasn't it Betty?
I believe her. I think there's 2 killers potentially, one in Palmdale and one in LA. So couldn't just be her.
Okay, I'm keeping break the big story, but I'm also now looking for evidence against Betty.
Okay. I think that's Betty. We need your motivation. No pressure.
I'm just trying to figure out how I want to word this, so hold on real quick.
Oh, and I want to, while she's doing that, I want to say thank you for feeding me my lines earlier. With you said this in the car. You said that in the car. I'm like, oh, thank you. I didn't watch the thing. Oh, good. I'm like furiously writing all that down. Like, okay, I know this, I know that, I know this. Oh God.
Totally. Yep.
All right, I'm going with point things in the right direction.
Okay. Looking at motivations, you can at least at this point decide if anybody is clearly against your motivation or clearly for your motivation, and you can switch around protagonist and antagonist based on that. Or you can play it out in the story as it happens naturally if it's not so clear.
So Walter was Betty's father? No.
Lester Camp.
What was
What was the actual name? I think it was Walter Sinclair.
Okay.
Tennessee Sinclair.
Oh, Tennessee. That's right. Because I misheard you. No, no, that's because there was a Walter Cross that was the foreman. That's
right. Okay.
Who was actually a villain in my Call of Cthulhu game, but it was the only thing I came up with at the time. So he might be a cultist. I don't know.
Everyone's a cultist.
Okay. Are we all set? So, Chapter 4. Where do we open? Everybody's piling into the cars and going to Palmdale, basically, right? Let's go ahead and start with arriving at the Carter and Associates office. That's probably where you're going. I'm assuming. I don't know. Where are you going? I don't mean to put actions into your hands.
Let's see where. I'm trying to think. We didn't have Dean and I didn't have a lot of information about what happened here.
No.
So I'm probably gonna let. I'll probably ask Wally where he thinks we should start. And so wherever you want to go, Wally.
Well, I think we need to go see the sheriff at some point, but we need to have some evidence before we do that. So let's go look over the Carter and Associates office, see what we could find to really connect Betty to the murders, and then you can arrest her, and then we can go home.
I mean, or
prove that Betty didn't do it.
Or we could go to the morgue, and I can see if we can identify the body as Daddy or not.
Yeah, let's do that. I can take some photos of her pretending to be shocked and surprised at all of this, and that'll make great front page material.
I mean, or we could let the girl grieve over her father.
She said she was done grieving weeks ago, because now she's just counting money, Jack. I don't understand how you can see this. You can't see this, but fine. Let's go to the morgue and go through the steps.
I don't believe it's actually him, so that's why I don't feel like there's anything left to mourn for.
Well, I'm just an awful reporter. What do I know?
Look, Wally, you don't have to be a jerk about it, okay?
I'm sorry, Dean. Yeah, you're right. Can we please go to the morgue with sugar on top?
Thank you for asking nicely. Yes, let's please go to the morgue.
She has her +1 sarcasm shield on. So the morgue is attached to the county police department. So there is a large, for Palmdale, large stone building, and then it looks something like a drab office building, and there are officers at post in the front desk area, and you can see signs pointing to where the morgue would be, but you'll need to check in at the front desk there with the county police officers.
Well, good thing we brought the black and white, right, Jack?
Yeah. I got it. All right.
Hey
boys, how's it going?
As large-eared deputy, with big eyes, and like, all the way up from LA, eh? How can I help you?
It's just running down some leads. I heard you had a stiff come in the other day.
He takes a huge, obnoxiously large bite of a carrot and masticates noisily. Yeah, real estate guy.
You want to say that one more time, Chief?
Some real estate guy.
Yeah. All right. Tell you what, I gotta. You mind if I go in and take a look at the body, see what's going on here?
Well, this ain't your domain, is it?
Oh well,
Jurisdiction.
Nah, yeah. Listen, I'm not gonna get my stick my fingers in your coffee, as it were. I just wanna take a look, see if this lines up with something I got going back at.
He takes another enormous bite out of the carrot, and then, oh, deputy, ain't his jurisdiction. And the other guy finally looks up from the herald and like, oh yeah, you gotta talk to sheriff for that.
All right, well, sheriff in?
He's over at the scene of the crime.
Listen, this would go a lot faster if you know what? Do I think these guys would take a bribe?
Well, I don't know. You could take a shot at it. This would be a depends on how you do it.
I think it's gonna be.
I think it's a falling move. It'd probably be enforce your will.
Yeah, I'm not falling. I'm rising.
You can. I'll give you a plot point if you want to suddenly fall. As you're thinking about bribing, you used to be a stand-up guy, and now you're gonna like. What's going on? Things are desperate.
Yeah.
Going against your instincts.
Hold up, Jack. Maybe I could help out. Hey, I see you're reading the Herald.
Yeah. I see you ain't.
I work for the Herald, my friend.
Carrot guy's like, he's in the middle of a story. He gets like this, and he takes the last bite of his enormous carrot.
We're working on a big story, and I'm not sure how often we're able to do a story out here. You know what I mean? There's not a lot going on, but this is a big one, and if we did get a little bit of a head start on it, we get to the printer early. Maybe if we had some help from some upstanding law enforcement, things could go a little faster. I think I might slide $100. No, that's way too much.
Yeah,
a double sawbuck, which is a 20.
Yeah. All right. Since you're bribing, I don't know that that's falling for you necessarily. You could do this as a navigate others.
Well, I am falling, so okay, I'll do it. Navigate others. Plus, I have a terrible personality, but we'll see how it goes.
You do?
What?
We hadn't noticed.
I'm shocked.
All right, I got a 10.
Okay, you have narrative control. You decide what happens and how. I'm just gonna watch.
Okay, so maybe the double sawbuck mysteriously disappears, and the officer reading the paper kind of looks up and kind of gives the eye contact with his associate, and they say, yeah, okay, but you need to spell my name right. It's Polish, and they it's wrong everywhere I see it. So Wally takes out his pad and says, okay, spell it slowly, and tell me a little bit about yourself. And he kind of nods towards Jack and the others as they kind of just walk back there.
All right.
The morgue.
Oh, and you do get +1 arc on that too.
Cool.
So, all right, you got through. Carrot guy and Herald reader are fine with you going in. What's next? The morgue. You're gonna go straight there?
Yeah, probably gonna head straight to the morgue and check the body.
Okay. There is a mortician in there who is very, girthy man, and he's just sitting there, writing on a clipboard. And his feet are up on the table that they do examinations. He's just sitting with his feet up on that table. And he kind of looks up and is like, "Hey, what can I do you for?"
Hey there. We just coming down to identify a body.
Well, there's only one in there, 201. And he
Awesome.
stands up, just nonchalantly opens up the, I don't know what those things are called, the body shelf.
A drawer.
and there is, the sheet is over him. There's a tag on him that says Lester Camp, and pulls down the sheet. And Betty, this is definitely your father. He's been shot. And
so I would kind of like walk back behind Jack and Dean, like not being very aggressive about going and looking. Now that we're actually in the morgue, like I'm a lot more hesitant to go look at it. And so I'm not getting close, but as the thing flips back, like I can tell that it's him. And I just like kind of do that like intake of breath, right? Like that, because I wasn't actually anticipating this to be Dad, right? And then I just probably turn around and walk back out of the room.
I'll give you a plot point if I can introduce a conflict about emotional breakdown, because you never did have that last moment with your father.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that he did to you.
Mm-hmm.
That can, if you want to try to struggle against that, I can give you a plot point for it.
No, I think I would definitely, like, this would be that moment, right? Like I've done like the cry for the cameras kind of thing, right? Where I've got the handkerchief and I'm like, oh, we're very sad that we've lost father, and that kind of thing. But I haven't actually been upset about his death, but seeing him actually dead, because there wasn't a body before that, I would definitely have that emotional breakdown right now.
So you can use whatever move that describes best how you want to do your emotional breakdown. Is it a lash out? Is it a protect yourself? Is it a I'm going to put the conflict in here. This is a character conflict.
I think it would definitely, I mean, I'm falling, and I definitely think it would be a lash out.
Okay.
I think I would start like, so instead of leaving the room, I think I would like see that it's him, get upset, start crying, and then go over and like start like yelling at his body. Like, how could you do this? How could you leave me? How could you do this to our family? And like, just lose it.
And the lash out is what it's resolving is your internal struggle at this point. So
Yeah.
go ahead and roll.
It's kind of that lethargic, like, release of all the emotion that I've been holding about it. Ooh, that's a 3.
Oh boy. Lashing out didn't help your situation at all. In fact, you are worse now. You lose an arc. You're emotionally completely broken right now. In fact, you've kind of fallen into a catatonic state where, after the lash out, you realize that there's still this horrible vacuum and everything's a lie. And what the hell's the point of it anyway? And you just kind of shut down. I mean, you're present, but you're not present. So anyway, that didn't work out very well for you.
Okay, I think a flashbulb goes off, and Wally says, "Okay, great, Jack. We just need one of you handcuffing her."
Whoa,
Damn it,
whoa.
Wally.
Stress. Stop it, Wally. What the hell?
I'm just kidding. Due process and all that, right? It's your business. I go over to the mortician and say, "What's your name again?" And I start writing his name down.
He's sort of done just looking at this outburst. The cigarette he was going to smoke has fallen out of his mouth, and he said, maybe you should get the victim's daughter out of here. or maybe not have brought her in here at all. Just a thought.
Okay, Betty, let's go. Okay, take it outside, and you can get some fresh air.
Okay, Dean.
For the love of the Lord, you people. Did you see everything you needed to see, officer?
I'll actually.
I saw everything I needed to see.
I'm gonna take a look at the actual body and see like where it was shot. Like, was it?
He was shot from behind by you know what are those called, the
38 special?
yeah, I think it's 38 special, the one that the famous one that they always used in the 40s.
So like a service revolver kind of thing?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's this. I can't remember. I don't know guns. Anyway, the one in film noir movies. So it's just a standard gun. It looks like he was shot from behind, execution style, point blank, and there was there's no other wound or anything. I mean, they didn't do an autopsy or anything. They just kind of cleaned him up.
What about personal effects? I look over the mortician. What did he have on him?
Who is this guy? He's talking to Jack.
Wally, why don't you tone it down a bit and just, you know what? Why don't you take Betty outside?
Well, Dina has already taken Betty outside. I thought, like with those guys gone, we could do the real work, right?
Listen, it would help us if we could take a look at the victim's personal effects. Did he have anything on him at the time?
He takes out the big bag, with the tag on it, and puts on gloves. Yeah, he had his briefcase, and we just took out these documents, and he pulls out file folders, this watch, wallet with $2 bill in there, and this is a picture of Betty as a young girl.
All right.
Hold on, I gotta change my bulb. Can you do that again? Slower?
Wally.
Who is this guy?
Jesus.
No, I want him out. I want him out.
You gotta go, man. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen.
All right. Fine. You can't stop the presses, my friend.
You're not, just go outside.
All right. Fine, Jack.
The mortician is like, hoisting up his pants in that sort of posturing way,
I'll lean into the mortician and sort of like commiserate, like, oh, I'm sorry, these vultures. Look, if I could take a look at these papers real quick, just see what he was working on at the time.
Use gloves. We're still.
Yeah, of course. I'll reach over and grab some gloves and flip through his file folder and see what he's got there.
Yeah, there are court papers, mostly, and it looks like he has kept his entire court record for the last 5 years. He had been under investigation for racketeering and for money laundering, and the FBI had a case on him, and the county had a case on him, and they had the court had locked up all of his money. And this is a whole record showing that.
And that happened right before he died?
It's like the last 5 years.
Like leading up to his eventual fake death?
This is all of his court records are in there.
Okay. I mean, I'll go through and see if I can find anything that would lead us to our next step. If they linked him to anyone specific, maybe like a mob entity that we could track down or try to find out who shot him.
Okay. I mean, the evidence is all pointing to the sheriff. I mean, there's no role for this. This isn't a gumshoe game. But yeah, it's as clearly the sheriff has orchestrated the money flow, at least. I mean, you can tell that something went on in the force.
Gotcha. Okay. So it seems like the sheriff's at the top of the food chain here.
All roads lead to the sheriff.
Okay.
You can't find any motivation or anything yet, but there's no doubt the money goes to him.
And is the Sheriff Keller the one that's at the crime scene right now?
Yes, the same.
We need to get to the crime scene.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I'll head back out, and I'm gonna go up to Betty, and I've got a handkerchief in my hand. It's like I'm gonna offer it to her, and then I think better of it and pull out a flask. Um, and I'll look at Betty and say, you got a bad beat, but we're gonna figure this thing out. And if you ever need to talk or cry or whatever, my shoulder's here, and I'll offer the flask.
Yeah, so I'll take the flask and take like a really big drink off of it. And like go to give it back to you. And then like, no, I'm just gonna hold on to this. I don't understand why after everything that's happened somebody would just shoot him in the back like that.
Well, Dad was mixed up with the wrong kind of people for sure.
Dad was the wrong kind of people.
Well, he definitely upset somebody above him. So we're gonna find out why and see what we can do about it.
What's the next step?
Well, clock's ticking. We're gonna need to head to the crime scene and figure out why the sheriff might have wanted to do this.
The sheriff's behind this.
And I'll turn to Dean and Wally. Seems like the sheriff's been at the top of this this racket for a while, and all money points to him. So this one's not going to be easy.
So when it comes down to it, when the rubber meets the road, are you going to be able to do what you need to do, Jackie?
I've been wanting to clean up my department for a long time. This is going to be a good part of that.
Dean, I'm really sorry I got you wrapped up in all this.
No, it could still work out. You know, this is not the end. This is a bump in the road. Betty, it's not your fault. You know, whatever the Sinclair name would have been before, you're different. I see that.
I'm just as bad as my father. I lied to you about my money and I mean, now your parents are going to lose the house and I'm sorry, Dean.
No, we're going to get that money back. It's going to be okay. Everything is going to turn out just fine in the end.
I kind of offer you the flask.
No, I don't want that. I know this is going to work out. We don't need to play games here. This is real life. And if it doesn't work out just by the grace of God, then damn it, I'll make it work.
All right, let's go get that bastard.
Are you that cavalier right now?
Probably not. I probably said it, but was more like, let's do something. Like, you can't just sit here kind of thing. But it was definitely like let's go deal with this, with the bastard. Like, it's not like, let's go. It's like,
yeah. All right. And Molly, what are you thinking about this?
I'm thinking that we just need to keep following the trail a little bit. I think Wally has kind of loaded a bunch of quips for that moment, but has wisely bit his tongue the entire time. So
it looks like people are getting in the way of your motivation on Betty. Are you just going to play it out?
Yeah, I think we need to see more. Um, so far we've just seen a body, but although I do still think that Betty is involved, it could have really been anyone. Um, so there has to be there has to be hard evidence.
Well, if you could convert, bring somebody from Betty's side to your side to help you out, would you?
I think on the way I may talk to Dean. So when he split the cars up again.
I'll give you a plot point if you confront Dean's position on supporting Betty. Get Dean on your side.
Sure. Whether Dean does that or not is.
I'm going to call it Dean's backing the wrong horse.
Yeah.
All right. So how are you going to try to convince Dean to get onto your side on this?
Well, first off, are we decided that we're leaving, or do we want to do this right now?
That's up to you. That's up to you. Do you want to do you want to manufacture so you have some alone time with Dean, or do you want to do it out?
Yeah. I think we're gonna need to split the cars and head towards the crime scene. So I think, not speak for Betty or Jack, but I think Betty might feel more comfortable in the squad car as opposed to my awesome ride. So Dean will come with Wally.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. So almost immediately as soon as we get in the car, Wally says, "Why don't you look over in that glove compartment, Dean?"
Okay.
Okay. So inside the glove compartment is a 45.
Whoa.
I didn't think it might come to this, but you might need to protect yourself. So, you ever use one of these?
That's a pretty big weapon there, but yeah, I mean, I was in the service, so
Yeah, government issue. There's a full clip in there. I'm not doing this just, out of the goodness of my heart. You are the story at this point, my friend. And when I say that, I mean you're gonna have to turn evidence at the end of this. So it's important that you stay alive, right? You follow? You savvy?
turn evidence. What?
Well, this is going to go to court eventually. You're going to have to go in front of a judge, show your connection to the money trail. Honestly, I think Betty played you. She's setting you up to be, kind of the shield for her story. So eventually, you're just going to have to think about yourself, right?
Well, I mean,
And
as soon as the sheriff is arrested, we get the money back, right?
there's no guarantee that Betty hasn't been working with the sheriff this entire time, right? Her dad dies. She'll get the money. This works out for her, not just the sheriff. So, in either case, if it's Betty, then you need to turn evidence against Betty. And I'm just looking out for you and the truth and your house. These are important things. Betty is not like you. Betty is from, a different world, and her kind just walks all over people like us every day. So you just need to be ready, A, to protect yourself, and I'm glad you're in the service, so you can use that thing. Slide a revolver back. It's a little tricky. I haven't had blued in a while, but it should work. So you can protect yourself, get your story straight, and when it's time to go in front of the judge, you need to connect the dots. So hopefully we're going to get some answers here. But don't think that Betty's just doing this because she wants to clear her name. She could be in it with the sheriff the entire time. Jack, great guy, but clearly he has the hots for Betty, and that's just going to get in the way. So,
So are you making a moral stand?
Well, hang on just one second. I'm going to spend a plot point.
Okay.
And say, like, he reaches out, pulls out the gun, and kind of looking pensively at it in his lap as you drive. He says, I don't like to think this about a woman, but after one of the investor parties that I hosted, Betty had come by my house and and we had reviewed some paperwork and whatever, and I had to leave the room for a minute. When we went to the party, everything was fine. The investors are happy. They love the Sinclair name being attached. But when I came back to the house that night, my old service revolver was missing.
Yep.
The 38, the 38 special.
Yeah, that's the one. You think she really could have done something like this?
You never know. Like I said, these people, they operate on their own, set of values. They'll think nothing of stepping on people like us, frankly. So don't fall for the act. I mean, maybe she's in the clear. Who knows? But Jack's emotionally invested. I hate to say that about an officer like him, but he's a man, so who knows what he's thinking.
All right, I do want to see a make
Yeah.
a moral stand because this is going into the cave.
All right. What am I rolling?
That is morality.
Oh, okay.
And you're rising. You're rising now, right?
No, I'm still falling. But
oh, okay. Then that is enforce your will. If you believe you're right, and it is taking a moral stand, and that means that I'll give you a plot point to switch arcs. But if you are just manipulating him, then it's one of these falling moves.
I do think I am taking a moral stand because I think I might have even talked myself into thinking that Wally is right. So,
all right, so you'll get a plot point for that, and go ahead and make the roll.
Okay. All right, I got a 7.
All right, and whenever you are awarded a plot point, wait, I might have this backwards. You spend a plot point, you get. Oh, I have narrative control. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I have to remember the rules that I wrote. Anyway, so that basically means then you will get an arc, Dean, if you take his point of view.
Cool, great. So I'll mark Betty as an antagonist and put Wally as a protagonist.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll mark Dean as a protagonist. Does that follow?
Yeah.
Because you got him on your side. So that was going into the cave, because now we're going to go meet the sheriff. So that is okay. So now we all of Wally's protagonists get an arc. All of his antagonists lose an arc, and we need new motivations.
Okay.
So just to know, the next chapter is the ordeal. This is when we are dealing with the major conflict of the story. This is when everything comes to a head, and we'll know we're done with the chapter when a character takes the road back, and then we'll kind of wrap up the story after that. So go ahead and think about your motivations for this. This is the climax.
Let's can we take 5? I have to go downstairs for a minute. So.
Yeah. Let's use this as a break time. Actually, let's take 10, so you can do your motivations, and I can get more coffee and all that.
See you in
Cool.
10. So, Chris,
Yeah.
have there been more changes to the rules since we played last?
Yeah, a bit. I took out chapter 2.
Okay.
And I ironed out some of the conflict and plot point. I got a full-on beta version I can send you.
All right. We'll talk about it during the debrief. I think.
It's not too many major changes, but there have been tweaks. There was a Lauren from the Gauntlets running in the flesh, and she's gotten through three episodes or 3 sessions. There's going to be one more, and that's been really helpful seeing somebody else run the game. I think there needs to be more tools for the novelist. But yeah, I mean, it's getting there,
Cool.
I need some more play testing. I'm running a session at Crit Hit. The Shining. I'm running The Shining. I want to do for the Gauntlet. I want as soon as I can figure out 4 weeks in a row I can do this. I really want to do True Blood.
Let's talk sometime later. I think I can run this for my group. I could play test it for you from my group.
Sweet.
I'll need to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I love the idea of True Blood. That's amazing.
I do too. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I got the idea because Lauren's doing In the Flesh, and I was like, oh my god, this is basically the same thing. We could totally do True Blood. And my wife and I just finished watching it again.
So fun.
The Sookie Stackhouse series is so good.
Yeah, I haven't read them, but my wife has read all of them.
So have I, and they are super awesome. I made Kurt, made Kurt read them. He's read about half of them, but they're really good.
I was gonna say I made it through about half of the books and half of the series before.
This is it's a great framework, right? Basically to play any show you want. I mean, because the dramatic stuff is all there. So I mean, anything you can think of, it works. I've been trying to push the boundaries on that. That's why The Shining is my example. I'm gonna see how this goes, because if it can run The Shining, then there's nothing it can't run.
Oh, you could do Dresden Files.
Oh, Dresden Files. Yeah, I didn't even.
It's a mystery with magic. That would be so awesome.
Well, this turned into a total gumshoe noir game. The one we're playing now, and it's interesting.
Yeah, if my playtest group will go a completely different way. I think we're going to try comedy. So
yeah, I haven't seen a comedy one.
Yeah,
Everybody's so serious.
Yeah, I have a kind of a loopy group, so we'll see.
Are you running it at Strategicon in February?
Yeah, I don't know which. I haven't figured out what franchise it'll be. I found running it straight Great American Novel, everybody's like, yawn. But when I run The Shining, everybody's like, yeah, The Godfather worked really well.
The Godfather was really fun.
I need to figure out a good one shot. I haven't decided. I will run it. I just don't know what. Okay. Anyway, we are going into the ordeal. Uh-oh. So,
Motivations?
Yeah, motivations, right. Let's go around. Thank you. I would have forgotten. I'm a terrible game master. All right, you should see me play D&D. I'm like, what rule is that? I don't know.
Nice. So Dean's motivation now is do whatever it takes to get back what's his.
And he has a gun in his hand? Okay. Great.
It's going to be fine. The situation is not going to escalate. It's actually just going to go straight where it needs to go.
All right.
So I'm going with get the heat off of me.
Mm-hmm.
What about Jack?
I'm the worst, and I'm still trying to get it written. Gene, you go.
Actually, his motivation is probably still the same, still to break the big story. I think he is less about finding evidence against Betty. I think he saw plenty at the morgue.
Trying to figure out how to phrase it, but I think it's instead of exonerate Betty, it's going to be more of a like get Betty.
Oh, like
yeah, like come out of this with Betty.
Oh, okay. I see.
Shit, I don't know how to phrase that.
You want to white knight the hell out of this?
Yeah.
Always
Save Betty. Come on.
Okay. If that adjusts your protagonist and antagonist, go ahead and do that.
So I had a question about the protagonist antagonist. Does my character have to know, or is it just like, because now Dean would technically be an antagonist, but the character wouldn't know that. So does it still flip?
Yeah, because if it comes up, you're working against each other, and you need to know that as a player on a meta level. And to be clear, these can change whenever somebody gets in the way of your motivation. You change it. You know, there's no move or trigger for it. It's just, okay, that person's going against what I want, therefore they are an antagonist. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to be your antagonist too. It just, you know, so that's a very fluid metric.
Like how it interacts with your motivation.
Right. Well, it's, yeah, if somebody's going against what you want, that's an antagonist. But I always reset them at the top of after motivations are revealed, just so that it stays top of mind. Sometimes motivations fall into the background in the heat of the story, you know, you forget what you're actually after. So, okay. All right, so were you heading to the crime scene?
Yep.
There's the Carter and Associates office building, which is a one-level kind of sort of nondescript building with some parking out front. It's outside of Main Street. It's a little bit rural. Of course, everything's rural in Palmdale in the 40s, but there are some resorts and stuff. I actually looked it up. The celebrities used to hang out there in the 40s and 50s. Interesting, because there was they did all the cowboy pictures up in the Antelope Valley. So anyway, I digress. There is a small nondescript building. However, it is taped off. There are about 3 patrol cars out front, and you can see a couple of the boys in blue, you know, walking around acting like they're doing something when they're not. You know, Jack, you know, they're not doing anything. They're just waiting for results to come in, or they're waiting for somebody to arrive. You also see a sedan that is parked there with a tire that has been patched. And it's a little peculiar. But anyway, that's what you see.
Is this PD or sheriff's?
These are sheriffs. This is county.
Okay. And how much time did you spend at the morgue? So what time of day?
It's all in the same area, so it's still morning. It's still donut hour.
All right, so I'm trying to think of how I would get in here because this is out of my jurisdiction, so I'm gonna have the same problem as last time.
But the sheriff is your boss. You're a deputy, so.
Oh yeah. No, wait. I'm not PD. I'm county, right?
Yeah, you're a deputy.
Okay,
but you're assigned to the Los Angeles jurisdiction.
Okay.
I don't know if it works that way, but for the purpose of the fiction.
Sure. So I think I'll try to find the sheriff. So I'll pull up. Betty, why don't you wait here? I'm gonna go see what I can find out.
Sure. Yeah, I'll wait here for you. I don't wait here.
So I'll head up to the uniformed boys and ask, where's the sheriff?
And the Studebaker guys, you see that Jack is going out to talk to the uniforms.
All right. So we park about a block away, and
well, it's rural, so like, you know, it's desert and that's it. So,
right. Well, we're not parked right behind the squad car.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, I think we should go in the back.
Yeah, maybe we even do that. So maybe we
find like a rock outcropping. Yeah. Okay.
And towards the loading door.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, you're going behind the building.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So Jack, the deputy is like doesn't recognize you, but sees your uniform. What can I do you for?
Hey, fellas. Just running down a lead. Heard the sheriff was out here. Figured I'd check in, see what he's found.
Yeah, Keller's inside. But ain't you supposed to be on the LA beat?
Yeah, well, that's the all evidence is pointing out here on that LA case. So seems like they're linked. So I figured I'd come see what we can find. Maybe share some information. Get the sheriff what he needs.
Yeah, all right. I don't think that requires a roll. That makes sense. They let you in. You see?
Can I spend a plot point?
Yeah, please. That's what they're for.
So how much narrative control do I get to take with a plot point?
You are the novelist.
Okay. So while Jack is talking to the deputies and is kind of like, distracted and he thinks I'm waiting in the car, I would just go right into the building, and go find Keller. That's the sheriff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably alone because the guys are outside, right? The boys in blue are outside. So I go up to Keller and I'd be like, so we've got a problem. And you need to let me inside of the crime scene for 2 minutes and make sure no one knows I'm inside.
All right. And well, does he? I mean,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Now, are you in cahoots with each other?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I know how to play it?
Yeah.
Oh, no. All right. So, yeah, he lets you in.
All right. So
did you want a private meeting with him?
No, I don't want to talk to him. I just want, I know I don't have a lot of time here, so I'm trying to slip in to the crime scene without being seen.
Mm-hmm.
I take the gun out of my purse, and I'm holding it by my handkerchief.
Is this Dean's gun, the one he took from the party?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. And I don't have any prints on it, right? So I take it by my handkerchief, and there's a big desk in the room kind of thing, and I kind of make it so it's it had slid under the desk. I just kind of slide it under there, maybe it got missed at some point. And then I turn around and go back out.
Your prints aren't, but
my prints aren't, but Dean's are.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then I'd go back out knowing that Jack is about to walk in any moment, because they would have pointed him this direction. And so I just kind of stand there and wait to hear the door open. And as the door opens, I slap Keller across the face.
Okay. And at that point, McCluskey gets a really good photo of it. Mid slap.
Yeah.
Flash.
Yeah.
There's a camera light that goes off. Wally, you see. All right.
Is that when we're walking in the back door as well?
Yeah, you can.
Fantastic.
So Jack, you go up to Keller, who has just been slapped by Betty.
Well, I think I run up to Betty. I'm like, damn it, Betty, I told you to wait in the damn car. And I'll grab her and pull her back away from Keller.
If Keller knows anything about my father's murder, he's just as much his fault as whoever pulled the trigger.
Just go to the car.
Jackie,
right?
It's all right. It's all right. I mean, she's going through trouble. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But yeah, Miss Sinclair, best if you go wait in the car. We'll let the boys take care of this.
Listen, I'm sorry, Sheriff, but she saw her dad today, so.
Yeah, about that. We're gonna have to ask you some questions about that, Betty. But that's nothing to worry about. We'll talk later. I'll come by my office this afternoon.
Okay, fine, and I'll go back out.
Whew. Well, we have a mess there, don't we?
Yeah, we sure do, Sheriff. Listen, I've been looking into things back in the city, and it sort of pointed me out this way, so I figured I'd come and see if we can. Seems
ain't you in line for a promotion?
Well,
you've been working that department now. What, 7 years.
I mean, I've been passed over a couple times, I guess.
Yeah. I took note of you, Jack. I know you work, and you know, we could use a guy with a head on his shoulder. Now the election's coming up, and you know, I'm looking for a supervisor.
Yeah, about that election. Your campaign's doing really well, isn't it? I've heard that you're doing really well.
You know, Jack, you don't need to go any further on this. You know, we've got this taken care of.
I'm just thinking.
Why don't you go on back, Los Angeles? We'll talk about your supervisor position come January, and I think it's going to be a good move for you.
Here's the thing.
By the way, Studebaker folks, you guys are in earshot now, but you're coming in from behind, so they don't know you're there.
Here's the thing about that, Sheriff.
Mr. McCluskey, why don't you go out front, huh? I think we could use some shots of the landscape. And the mousy reporter realizes that he shouldn't be here for this and leaves.
Do I? You know what? Can I spend a plot point?
Please.
Okay, so I would like to spend one. I don't know how many I have. I haven't been tracking them. I assume I got one at the start of this scene.
Yes.
So I'll spend one to say that Wally is here and ready to catch this conversation.
I don't. Do you need to spend a plot point? Because Chris
well,
has said
you're
that.
in the room, right? You're in earshot. Okay.
Maybe we're like around a corner in a hallway that
So that the sheriff doesn't know that you're there.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, I did a little. I was doing a little digging, and you know, they always say follow the money, and so I was following the money, and it's strange, Sheriff, the money from it ended up in your
think very carefully before you say anything else, boy. Now, I offered you a nice little position. I think it's time to go back to Los Angeles.
I mean, we're alone here, right? I just want to know what I'm getting myself into here, Sheriff.
Did you want in on it?
Is there an opening?
I'll give you 10.
What am I getting in on here? What's the
give you 10
land deal? What
nice
is this?
cushy promotion if you shut your fucking mouth.
Sheriff, I
we got it all lined up. We've got Dean's prints on the gun. We got motivation. He swindled his dad, didn't he? He swindled his dad so he had $50,000 and go and run off with it and do whatever the hell he wanted. He hated his dad. We got all that lined up. We know who done it. This job's done. Why don't you go back to L.A. and I talk to my secretary about your new position?
Tell you what, is there? Do we know who did it back in L.A.? Is there any way I can? I just want to wrap things up when I get back to the office and all.
Jack, Mr. Carter, you know, he wanted to blow a whistle on something he had no business blowing a whistle on. My boys took care of it. There's nothing to worry about. That case is closed.
All right, and Betty's going to be okay in all this? I mean, it looked real shaky there for a second. She's going to be all right, yeah?
Do I have confidence in your motivations, Jack?
Well, of course, Sheriff Keller.
All right. Are you going along with his bribe, or are you actually not? And saying
I am lying to him.
Okay.
I don't know how I can do that.
Well, you're navigate others, or if it's rising, you're protecting yourself.
I am rising, so I will protect myself. So I roll plus instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. That's good. That's a 4.
If you can re-roll and spend a plot point, as long as it ties to your motivation, which it does.
Yeah.
You haven't spent any, so you should have at least 3.
Okay, I'll go ahead and spend it to re-roll. That is a 7.
Okay. All right. So now I just sprung a lot on you, boy. I think you might need some time to digest it. So Deputy Harris is going to take you back to the office. He's going to take you there for a little bit of quiet time. And we're going to talk later.
I'm going to spend a plot point, I think.
Okay.
I think a flashbulb goes off. And I think Dean and Wally look at each other because it's not Wally's camera. And we see McCluskey squirreling out the back.
Well, he would pass you then, right?
Well, I'm thinking that the office leads into like a T. So
Okay.
he's on the other side of the T, and we're on the, we're
Okay.
opposite him. So we didn't know that he hung around instead of went out for the landscape. So Dean and Wally look at each other. I think the light was bright enough that the people in the office saw it. So maybe the sheriff and Jack are like, "What just happened?" McCluskey starts tearing away. He's running down the hallway to get his story in. So Wally goes after him. Like, he doesn't even care what Dean is doing. So now the people in the office hear like the thunder of people running down the steps. I'm not sure what Deputy Harris does, but maybe Deputy Harris turns and follows them, leaving the sheriff, Jack, and Dean in the corridor.
And that's when I pull the 45 on the sheriff.
It is unfortunate that you heard this, Dean, but don't make a felon out of yourself. You're a hero to this country.
You're pinning all of this on me.
We would get you out, but
If you have your way, I take the fall for this regardless of what happens. My parents never get their money back. You spend it on bribing Jackie, on yourself, doing whatever you damn well please. There's no way I'm going to listen to anything that you say.
This is all Betty's fault. You know that.
What's Betty got to do with it?
She's the one that had the idea in the first place. She needed the sheriff to clear her father's money.
Bullshit.
Needed to close all those accounts, didn't I? How was I going to do that if I didn't win the election? You're pointing the gun on the wrong person.
No.
You do right by me, Dean. You take care of the real problem, then we're all friends here. This whole thing goes away.
You planted evidence against me.
Well, now, that's a matter of opinion. Court's opinion, to be frank. You shoot me now, what are they going to think? Use your head, Dean. Use your head. Use your head. You take the snake at the head.
My parents lost everything in the Depression. This is what they earned back since then. I'm not letting you take it away from them.
I'm not taking anything.
The money's in your account. Jackie told me so.
Okay, what's your motivation here? He's trying to steer you off to Betty.
Yeah. Well, I'm following my motivation completely and take back what's mine.
So are you intimidating him to return your money?
Yeah.
Or are you lashing out?
Well, it's probably lashing out. So I'll go from rising to falling. And do that roll.
And the conflict is well, any of these will work.
Yeah.
So those Palominos land deal probably.
Yeah. That's a 3, so I'm going to spend that plot point I just earned myself to roll that. Let's see if it does better. All right, yeah, that's an 11 plus my instinct of 2 is 13.
All right, well, you have complete narrative control now, so what happens?
Yeah. Everything that the sheriff says just amps up the situation for Dean. He can't say anything right. He seems like he's going to keep the money or the money is not going to go back, and Dean's just stewing on the fact that his parents are going to lose everything, and he shoots the sheriff.
Okay, there's a gunshot from inside. Deputy Harris reels around from chasing the reporter, gun drawn, and sees Dean standing over the sheriff. And he's a, "Drop it, boy! Drop it now!"
And I just turn, it had to be done. It had to be done. And I'll drop the gun.
All right, he rushes forward and cuffs.
I want to rush in and cuff Dean instead.
Okay. And then okay, so that's happening in there. Betty, what are you doing? You see McCluskey running outside the office, followed by Wally. You hear a gunshot.
Yeah, so I think I'd hear the gunshot and I'd run back in. Probably fearful that Jack is in danger. And I kind of see the scene and basically this is my moment, right? This is my moment to kind of point everything off of me. So I look at Dean and I say, Dean, how could you do that? How could you shoot someone again?
Again, what the hell are you talking about?
You're just, I mean, I don't think you ever came back right. I don't know how you could just, we're in civilized society. This is not how we handle things when you're not in a war. You can't just go around shooting people.
He took everything from me. He took everything from my parents. They're going to lose their house. And this is all your fault too.
You were the one that was telling me that everything was going to be okay and that we were going to fix this and that we were a team. And how could you do this? You ruined everything.
This is how it gets fixed. Betty, I don't know what part you had to play.
Murder is how we fix things?
It's not murder, it's justified, damn it. He said everything was you. He said you were doing this to me. Is that right?
Dean, we had all of the evidence that he took all of the money and that he was doing all of these awful things and now you've thrown your whole life away. I can't believe I mean, you're a murderer.
All right, so who are you trying to convince? Jack?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so you need to do a just a following move because you're lying out your ass.
Yeah, and I'm following.
You are condemning Dean.
I'm condemning Dean. Oh, poor Dean.
Jack has lost control of the situation.
Oh yeah, definitely. Ooh.
Well, we did tell us to do this, so you know.
That's a 10.
Oh, welcome back. You got a 10, so that means Dean, you get an arc if you go along. Not Dean, you know what's going on, Dean. Jack, you get an arc if you believe Betty.
Oh shit. Man. Yeah. Well, okay. So I can read my motivation two ways. One, I can save Betty from Dean, right? I can save Betty from this, or I can save Betty morally and try to talk Betty down.
Yeah, but have you had any evidence pointing that Betty is not on the up and up in this?
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take the arc. All right. So I believe Betty.
Okay.
So I will cuff Dean. And I say, Betty, go to the car. This is not a place for you right now. There's been we've already had one murder. Just get somewhere safe, okay?
Okay, Jack. So I'll go back outside. And I think you need to mute. Sorry, we echo each other if our mics aren't muted. So I'm gonna go outside and I think I'm gonna see Wally and the other reporter arguing, right?
Well, Wally was chasing after McCluskey, and that was where we're going to go next.
Yeah, so I think I'd come out and see whatever the thing is that's going on between them.
Okay, so what's going on with them? So, Wally, you are chasing after McCluskey, who has camera in hand, and he's running to his patchwork-tired car.
We've rigged the car. We've deflated the tire again before he went in. So I'll spend a plot point for that.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, he sees that, and he kind of does the shoulder and turns around. Well, hi there, Wally. Interesting day.
How long have you been in the sheriff's pocket, McCluskey?
I'm not in the sheriff's pocket. I was here on a lead and was taking photos of the crime scene for him. They don't exactly have a department out here. Are you going to make up stories like you always do at the Herald?
No, I think the story's right in front of me. So you're gonna hand me the camera and whatever other film you got. You can come late to the scene and break whatever story's left, but I need that camera.
All right, so do you want his camera because why?
I think that, I mean, I'll spend a plot point if I need to, but I think that he actually took a photo of Betty planting the gun.
Yeah,
So
you'll need to do a plot point for that because that didn't happen in my narrative. So,
Okay.
all right, cool. So he took a photo of her planting the gun. And but why do you want the camera? Because you don't know that he did that, right?
Yeah, but I also don't want him to break the story before me, so I just want everything he has.
Oh, so this is a selfish reason.
Yes.
So you want to enforce your will? Are you following?
I'm not now. I'm not. My motivation is to break the story. This is iffy. I'm not sure if it's really personal or not. No, it is personal. He hates this guy, and he still wants to get the big story.
All right, so you get a plot point for switching arcs and then doing an enforce your will.
Okay, so
And
that's
this
a
would
roll.
be yeah, this would be well, there really is no conflict for this, so I guess it's a wash. There
Okay.
should have been,
Yeah, probably.
but I don't know how to spell McCluskey. Has the story. All right.
So I'm rolling. Yeah.
Yeah. It's enforce your will personality.
All right. I got an 8.
All right. He doesn't want to give you the camera, but he doesn't stop you from taking the camera from him.
All right. So I take the camera and say, I don't want to ruin your career. I just want to make sure you're clear of this, and that it doesn't hurt that I get the story. But hey, I'm not going to tell your boss.
He's just defeated, kind of slumps against the car.
Okay, and I think this is when Betty comes out. When McCluskey hands me the camera and the film, Betty comes out the front door.
So I would come up to you, Wally, and I would. So are you ready to break this story? I've got the whole thing for you now.
What was with the gunshots?
That was Dean. He just shot the sheriff.
I am trying hard not to make a joke.
As I was saying it, I was like,
He didn't shoot. He didn't shoot Harris.
He didn't shoot the deputy. It looks like the sheriff and my father were in cahoots, and Dean losing all of his money, knowing I don't even know how he found out that my father was alive, but it looks like he murdered my father, and now he's killed the sheriff in revenge for losing the money he had invested in our project, and it's all fallen apart, Wally, and you get to break this story wide open.
There's a lot of holes in this story, so you'll need to roll for lying.
Yeah.
Let's see if Wally will believe you.
Falling, so I think I'd have to enforce my will, right?
You don't use flat moves.
I can use flat moves, okay.
Yeah.
Or you can condemn me.
Condemn, yeah. They're condemning.
Oh, it's true. I am condemning you again.
Yeah, right.
Let's go with that. 8.
Okay, so
How does
while
it work if we're opposed?
you get an arc if you accept her story as truth, but you don't have to.
I don't think I will. So Wally says, yeah, we'll see. We'll get this film developed. Why don't you wait in the car, Betty? We'll have Jack sorted out.
I would like to spend a plot point. You turn Wally to walk away from Betty, and you sort of start to trip, and Betty reaches out and kind of like to steady you, but as she does so, she grabs the camera, pops the back, and exposes the film.
Do I have to accept that?
That is so awesome. I had to accept you taking the picture of me planting the evidence.
Okay, fine. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want? Okay, I guess that
Right.
happens then.
These are truths. So typically, when you're doing behaving as a novelist and narrating, you don't control the actions of others, of other player characters. But if since you're controlling,
Well, I could
Betty's
offer
action,
Betty.
yeah, Betty, if you're okay with that, that's cool. Then that's what happens.
I'm very okay with that.
Okay. All right. So Jack and Dean, you are you being taken out, Dean, or what's going on now?
So I've got Dean in cuffs, and I think I look at Dean and say, "This is gonna be pretty serious, Dean. That's a murder charge on a sheriff. They're not. You're not gonna be okay."
Betty took my gun. I swear, she planted it. They've got my prints on it. It wasn't me though. It wasn't me.
I know that's what the sheriff wants you to think, but look, I don't know how that gun got in there, but I know you're going down.
No. This look, Jack, it had to be done. You said you would be willing to do whatever it took. This is what it took. The whole damn department's dirty. You know that. This never would have gone any other way. I had to do what I did.
I mean, I don't. There's no good way to say this, but you did a good thing. But now you're gonna have to pay the price for that thing. I'm real sorry, Dean. I don't see another way out of this.
Walk me to the car. We'll say I overpowered you. Got away. I won't be in your hair anymore. We know it had to happen.
All right. If you can try to convince him to do that, that would be a chapter move, because we're moving into the road back.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's an enforce my will because I'm falling.
Yeah.
Unless you think it would be better to do a protect myself and switch arcs to rising.
Not necessarily, because you're the motivation isn't really a rising motivation. You know,
Yeah.
you want to get away with murder at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So I am enforcing my will. All right. So with personality, that's a 7.
Okay, so that means then, Jack, you'll get an arc if you go with this plan.
So I think I'll take the I'll take the arc. The thing is, man, I'm rising, but it feels like everything he held true is falling apart. Can I I don't know how many plot points. I think I spent 3 already. I kind of want to switch to falling.
Oh, you get a plot point for switching.
Okay, I'm gonna switch to falling. And I'm gonna uncuff Dean and I'm going to say, make it look good.
All right, I punch you in the jaw.
All right, so that's the chapter. The final chapter is really a wrap up, so we don't need to worry about motivations. And the chapter, the end of the ordeal is where you are rising or falling. So we can resolve this if you want to stop there, and that's where the scene ends with Dean punching Jack. Or do you want to play that out a little more? We don't have to necessarily change the scene, but we need to now in this final chapter determine what your tragic end or heroic fate is. If you're rising, you have a heroic fate. If you are falling, you have a tragic end, and you get to fully narrate what that is, what that looks like, and wrap up your character. So I'll turn it over to you.
I have an idea about something that happens right after I get decked, and like I get back up, I go into the crime scene, I find the gun, wipe the prints, and then put the sheriff's prints on it and put it back. I don't know if that's the end of my story, but that's
it's because you become the corruption that you were fighting against.
Yeah. So I think
that's a tragic fate.
I think we see like jump ahead in my future, and we see me running for sheriff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a tragic end in my book. What about Dean? What happens with him?
Yeah, he has to go on the lam because, yeah, multiple deputies besides Jack were there, witnessed him, at least heard the gunshot, saw the gun in his hand, you know, Harris being one of them. So, of course, the money disappears, probably funds Jack's sheriff bid later in life. And his parents are destitute. He's on the lam. He can't get in contact with anybody. And, you know, there's a warrant out for his arrest. He's you know, most wanted in LA for murdering the sheriff. So, yeah, he lives the rest of his life and, you know, not heroically. Yeah, that's it.
All right. What about I kind of want to wait to hear Betty from Betty for last, because I think that's going to be a good good way to conclude it. So let's go to Wally.
All right, I think Wally breaks the story as he had it. It's a huge expose. It catapults him into the upper reaches of the Examiner. Eventually, he's made an offer to the Times, or an offer is made from the Times. He switches over. I think though that there's a nagging problem with the whole case, and in his new office at the Times, on top of his desk is a folder that says Los Palominos, and there's kind of a time lapse, and we show that it's growing in size as he continues his career. And there's all kinds of notes on it. It's tracking Jack's career and whatever happens to Betty. But he's a star now. He got everything he wanted.
Did he get a Pulitzer?
I think he was nominated. He might not have gotten one. But there's some nagging holes, and over the next couple of years, the file he keeps looking at the file until eventually he gets a phone call, and he picks it up, and Dean's voice is on the other line. And that's where we'll fade out on him.
All right. And Betty.
Hers. What's the
shortcut to unmute?
Control D.
Okay, did that unmute me?
You can scoot over here if you want.
So crazy.
Her.
Oh, Chrome's crashing.
Oh, her.
Oh,
we're back.
okay. Ooh, hi. All right. That was weird. All my Chrome browsers just went completely black. I was like, oh, nope, the story's over. Sorry, you can't do your epilogue. So I think we see Betty in court dealing with all of the charges that were pending against her father and his money. And she had hired, you know, all of the best lawyers to try to like get daddy's money out from all of the charges. I think we see like Betty and Jack kind of working together a bit on this. Jack's trying to like help Betty get out from underneath the corruption charges now that he's kind of on the wrong side of things. And yeah, definitely Betty ends up taking over her father's, like basically picking up the mantle, right, of the corrupt business dealings, and fully steps into being a part of the corruption.
Nice. So it's the sleazy reporter that is the only good one at the end of all this. All right. Well, there's our novel. Maybe things will work out later in the, you know, in the sequel. All right,
A little
cool.
part of me thinks Dean's going to come back and murder Betty at some point. It's like,
well, it could definitely end that way if you wanted.
There's definitely a part of me that feels like, you know, years down the line, you know, Dean's been off the radar for quite a long time, and you know, he breaks into my house at some point, and Betty has a tragic accident. I definitely think that's where my story ends. And there's really no evidence of Dean, I think. I think it's just
you're in a beautiful ball gown with a broken heel at the bottom of some stairs.
Nice.
Definitely. I definitely felt like that's like the revenge from Dean, like that needed to happen.
All right, cool. Well, there's our novel, Breaking Ground at Los Palominos. We'll go ahead and stop here. We can keep chatting, but I'm going to stop the broadcast. Bye, Internet.